Welcome to Good Money Guide TV. Today we're at the London offices of Charles Schwab. Now, Charles Schwab was celebrating 50 years in the investment business. As of December 22, they had $7 trillion under management. They've recently reduced the minimum account required to open an account and reduced commissions. So we're going to have a chat with the UK MD, Richard Flynn, about what they offer, who they offer it for, and we're going to find out a little bit more about Richard. Richard, thank you very much for inviting us to your office in London.
Thanks for coming down.
So first of all, let's just start with, what's the Charles Schwab offering for UK customers? What makes you guys different from all the other people and brokers that offer access to the US markets?
Well, really, as you mentioned, the US markets is our specialist subject. Schwab has been operating for 50 years and is one of the largest US brokers in the world. We serve clients in over 70 countries outside of the US, and the UK is one of our most important markets. In terms of the offering, the platform that we provide, it allows clients to access everything that's listed in the US, so the huge range of stocks across all sectors. There's a range of UCITS ETFs that people can access as well from here in the UK, fixed income securities. The main benefits to the platform, though, are cost. We don't charge any custody fees. There are no account charges, and for stock trading, online trading's $0 trading as well.
Okay. And actually on that, you have just changed your strategy. It used to be that you used to have $25,000 to open an account, but you've now opened that up to more investors by saying there's no minimum. So what's the strategy behind that when everybody's chasing the same dollar, as it were?
Yeah, so Schwab's philosophy has always been about democratizing investing and making the stock market available to as many people as possible. In the 70s, when Chuck set up the company, we positioned ourselves as more Main Street than Wall Street, and as a broker that started in California and ended up having over 350 branches across the US, it really was representing the kind of common investor in the US versus Wall Street, which before Chuck entered the market really had a very high barrier to entry. So through opening up access to the market and then continuing to push trading fees down, we've allowed more people over the last 50 years to start trading and start their investing journey. And what we've done in the UK recently is reduce our minimum, as you said, from $25,000 to zero, really with the same philosophy at heart. We'd like more UK investors to get the benefit of investing in the US, and being able to drop the minimum down allows us to do that. It's also a consequence of the growth that we've seen in the last 5 years in particular. The retail investing boom has landed in the UK as well. More UK investors are interested in and looking at the US as a potential investing market, and as a result of the increase in client numbers, Schwab operating at scale is able to minimise those barriers to entry in a more effective way.
So last count, end of December 2022, you had $7 trillion under administration. What do you think the main appeal of Charles Schwab is for customers? If you were to say to a big customer, this is the one reason you should deal with us versus anyone else, what's the big USP of Charles Schwab?
Well, those $7 trillion are with Schwab for a reason, and fundamentally it is down to our business model. It's down to the service levels that Schwab provides, the focus on clients. Chuck, when he established the business, set it up with a very simple philosophy, which is put the clients first, always. We have phenomenal service levels with 24-hour free phone service for UK clients. We're not sure that any other UK broker can meet that level of service. You
don't see it anymore, actually, the ability to talk to someone about your investments.
And we're here in our office in London, right by St Paul's. It's very important to us that we have a physical location that clients can come and speak to qualified financial professionals who can help them get their investment journey started. And really the focus on the client experience, good client outcomes, it's something which is central to our business model. And in addition to the service levels as well as the low costs, We also put our money where our mouth is. You have a thing called the Schwab guarantee, a satisfaction guarantee, sorry, which allows clients to know that if at any point they're unhappy with services that they've received from Schwab, we simply refund fees as appropriate, no questions asked. And we're not aware of any other brokers that make that commitment to their clients in the same way.
What's a typical customer like for you, and what sort of protection do they get under the Charles Schwab brand?
Yeah, it's interesting. A typical customer probably doesn't really exist for Schwab. We cater for all kinds of clients, and our intention is that whoever walks through these doors, whether they're a first-time trader, new to investing, or whether they are a family office looking to custody assets securely at a higher level, that we're able to provide that kind of platform for them. We have a fantastic trading platform for people who wish to trade actively on the market. It's called Street Smart Edge. That offering and the service levels that we provide for active traders is phenomenal, incredibly powerful, robust, real-time data, wonderful user interface. So for traders, we have a fantastic platform. For longer-term investors, we have fantastic research facilities. We provide excellent commentary and tools and tips to help you rebalance your portfolio, to analyse performance and to make sure that you're on track. We always recommend clients to stay engaged with their investing plan and to use Schwab's services in order to do so. So typical clients don't really exist for us, but fundamentally we would recommend for all investors to consider having diversified portfolios, and that includes diversifying across currencies. So having US dollar assets with Schwab is quite a common trait across our client base. They might use a UK or European broker for their assets over here, but use Schwab for their US trading. You mentioned about security on Schwab accounts. That's something that's very important to us. It's quite important for UK investors to know that because of the way Schwab accounts are based in the US and provided and serviced by CS&Co in the States, they're not subject to the Financial Services Compensation Scheme protections, but they are covered by what's called the SIPC protections in the US. Now, the FSCS cover is at £85,000. SIPC in the States covers up to $250,000 in cash or $500,000 in securities. So there is a slightly increased level of cover under the US protection systems.
So best and worst moments of working for Charles Schwab all those years. Any highlights?
Yeah, the highlights, I guess. I've had lots of opportunities to travel to the US, which I've always had a deep fascination with. From a historical point of view, from a political point of view, I'm fascinated by America. I think one of my first visits was back in 2007. And I got to meet Charles Schwab himself, and meeting him, he was incredibly gracious, polite, and exactly the person I thought he would be. He's an incredibly admirable entrepreneur. And
is he very hands-on nowadays?
He's still chairman of the company, yeah. So he is heavily involved in the direction of the company, and I think will be for the rest of his days. And we're very lucky and grateful that he's still finds time to commit to the company that bears his name.
And what's been we must be balanced. We talk about the good things and the bad things. What's been one of the trickiest moments?
I think the beginning of the pandemic was, as most people and everyone on planet Earth found that a bit of a remarkable period. We, as most companies, had to scramble a little bit to make sure that we didn't have a drop in our client service and how, firstly, we could look after our employees, but secondly, make sure our clients were serviced to the standards that they expect. It probably didn't help that there was a huge boom in retail investing over the next couple of months, and we saw a huge surge in new accounts. We were delighted for all those clients to come to Schwab, but it was a great test. Looking back, there are some things we probably could have done better. But we're incredibly proud of the effort that we put in at that time. So, yeah, that was a very interesting time. I'll put it that way.
So you've seen a lot of new customers come in, and obviously you've dealt with a lot of customers over the years. What are your top tips for investors? What are the mistakes you've seen people make, and what do you think people can generally do better to make more of their investments?
I think the most common mistake I see from investors is letting emotion rule their investing strategies, particularly in times of volatility. Liz Ann Saunders is our chief investment strategist. She's a fantastic commentator on the markets, and one of the lines that she has said time and time again in the time that I've been at Schwab has been, panic is not a strategy. And quite often we see people panic a little bit, maybe sell when they shouldn't, or buy irrationally, and lose track of their stated aims and their objectives. It's very important for anyone, these new investors who've come through to Schwab, or even just to investing in the last couple of years, to really consider what their objectives are. And a lot of new investors find it fun. They start in trading, they start investing, but they don't have a specific objective or strategy in mind. So one of the things we'd always recommend is identify what your objectives are, what your stated outcomes are intended to be, and stay the course. And that's something that has been a common thread through Schwab's messaging, not just since I've been at Schwab, but really since Chuck started the company.
And that actually leads us quite nicely onto our final question, or chat, a book recommendation. What book do you think can really help people, or has helped you over the years, understand investing?
So it would be remiss of me not to recommend my boss's book. So Charles Schwab's autobiography, Invested, which was published a couple of years ago. It's a fantastic read. His life story is fascinating. He was a dyslexic child and worked incredibly hard to identify his path, and then as a visionary saw deregulation in the US in the mid-70s, which allowed millions of investors to change their lives for the better, and there aren't many people who by themselves have created multi-billion-dollar companies. Now Chuck will tell you he hasn't done it by himself, but it was entirely his vision. So I would strongly recommend that as a fascinating read through the history of the last 40 years of the US markets, for anyone interested in entrepreneurship and hard work. Invested by Charles Schwab. One book that I've recommended to a number of people, which has always come back with glowing reviews, is Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall. It sits perfectly in the middle of history, politics and the natural world. Very interesting read about how every country's politics and history has really been driven to a large extent by its physical geography, and trying to make sense of the modern world and the interconnectedness of our world. You realise that a lot of it is based on this planet, so it's a really good read. It's not a demanding one, it's a pretty quick read, but it's very, very interesting indeed.
Great. Well, Richard, thank you very much for inviting us here and showing us your office and telling a bit more about your services. Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
It's been a pleasure.
There you have it, a quick overview of what Charles Schwab can offer UK customers and some good advice for investors from Richard. We'll be looking in more detail at the Charles Schwab trading platform and also reviewing their services shortly. If you've used Charles Schwab or go on to use Charles Schwab, please come back to the Good Money Guide and tell us what you think. Thanks for watching.